Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Tekstmarkt short film pitching session. I'm Igutiat, and I'm the Artistic Director of Kunste Onbeperk, the presenting company of the Klein National Arts Festivals, one of the largest arts festivals in South Africa, and also your host for today. Tekstmarkt is a collaborative script writing project for theatre and film between South Africa and the Netherlands. It's supported by the Netherlands Film Fund, Dutch Performing Arts, Dutch Culture, and the Embassy of the Netherlands in South Africa. And it's presented and facilitated by the Klein National Arts Festival. The theme for this year is the other, the under. We received over 90 entries for the short form leg of the project, and today 13 writers will have the opportunity to pitch their short form ideas to you. This is not a competition, I need to make that clear, but it's a platform for writers to share their ideas, and as the title states, it is a market for those looking for interesting and new ideas. Anyone can request to be put in contact with the writers if you are interested in the ideas or the writer. If you want to invest and develop the project further, please contact us and we'll make sure to put you in contact with the writers. Although it is not a competition, two writers, one from South Africa and one from the Netherlands, will receive a donation of €2,500 as encouragement to finish their scripts. For this purpose, we have a special panel who are not only looking for new short film ideas for their projects and for their companies, but will also decide on who will receive these bursaries, if one can call it that. I would love to call the panel for today on the screen. If we can bring them on, it would be great. And I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and to just tell us how they fit into this wonderful industry of film.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Olga Weinhart, and I'm one of the board members of the Klein National Arts Festival, but I'm also the senior specialist content acquisitions at MultiChoice. Really excited to hear what you have to say about your pitches and looking forward to spending the next couple of hours with you guys.
Hi, I'm Robiel Raantoeknam. I'm a consultant at the Dutch Film Fund, which means that I advise on either financing or not financing based on artistic value of the projects. And I'm also looking forward to these pitches.
Hi everyone, my name is Sakile. I work at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and that is where the Durban Film Festival is hosted. And I work in various portfolios as a programmer, audience development, and various other aspects in other projects. And anything that has to do with film, I'm very interested. And this is quite exciting for me, and I'm looking forward to the pitches today.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sandra Geldenhuys. I'm the Senior Specialist for Mnet, and that includes CakeNet. I'm a fan of anything content, long, short form, and very much looking forward to today. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and thank you for being with us. We're going to put you back in your room now. I wish I could give you some coffee. I really appreciate your time. We also have other people linking in and watching on YouTube. And we will also record this session to ensure that all the pitches can be distributed afterwards and marketed to different interested parties. But without further ado, you're not here to listen to me. I would love to introduce our first participant. It is a South African participant, Maritz, and he will present his short film script idea, The Boy Behind the Wardrobe. Over to you, Albert.
Good morning. Is my timing starting? Okay, I gather that. Right. I'm mainly an actor, but I have made 2 feature films and 3 documentaries. These documentaries two of these documentaries were on people who have ties with the Netherlands, N.P. van Wyk Louw and Jean Goosen. It's important for my story, which is the boy behind the cupboard, that I just put you in the picture about some background of South Africa. Apartheid police in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even, they were a force to be reckoned with, and they saw to it that people of different races were kept apart in all spheres of life, and most of all in families. Families were torn apart by them. There was a famous, bold South African singer, Randall Wickham. He was very popular. And he was called Trifle White by the coloureds, and we never knew why. Then discovered that he was from a coloured heritage. And then and he was a very blonde boy when he was a small boy. Then there's Professor Barnard, who was the heart pioneer and did the first heart transplant, which was internationally renowned. In 1967, he needed a box, some device to transport hearts over huge distances. With Randall's death, his brother, who is a doctor in America, arrived, and at the funeral he sung a song, and it reached the newspapers, and I was astounded to realize that Randall Wickham, the famous singer, had a colored brother. Now, I was showed the book, The Boy Behind the Cupboard, and read this, and I was astounded by all the limitations that Randall's brother Winston Wickham had in his life. He was hidden behind a cupboard, so when anybody, visitors arrive, he was not visible. He went to a separate school from his father, from his brother Randall, and so forth. Now, coincidentally, he bumped into Dr. Chris Barnard, the heart pioneer. He helped him fix his car, and eventually was appointed to develop this box. A love triangle ensued. The love of his life was Jean, and her father had a violent issue with blacks in the past. So eventually, with a long story, he had to be convinced that Winston is the husband for Jeannie. So eventually, he developed the box for Professor Chris Barnard, and he's world renowned for that, except in his own country, South Africa. That is my 3 minutes, my contribution. I think it'll be compelling viewing. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Albert. It is really, really a fascinating story. I would love to hear from our Dutch participants. I know this is obviously a story that's very much within a South African context, but I think it can resonate internationally. Rubil, can we bring you on?
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you. Rubil, you're welcome to ask your question.
Yeah, sorry, it's just a fascinating story, but what I was wondering is, what is the film we are going to see?
The film has all the detail. This is astounding how Winston grew up. He had to, they had to move quite often because the neighbors would start discovering this brown boy in the family. Eventually, he was sent to a school where he was bullied. He was sent to an English school while his brother and sister went to an Afrikaans school, the local language here, and he was bullied because even in the English school, which was more liberal for the fact that he was colored, and the things that he did then to uplift himself was quite incredible. He began a gymnasium at some point. He had some protection in two Rhodesian, which we now know as Zimbabwean boys who became friends with him. They started doing gymnastics and gymnasium to protect themselves. He had two teachers who were mentors for him, which is an astounding story in itself. And he had to do South African Army. Part of the way, and he was not allowed to study.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Sorry,
yes,
the time is very short, so I was just. So what is the length of this film you're thinking about?
It's 20 minutes, but there are parts one can fill in to have it longer, and not too much that one can take out. It's already a lot of fascinating detail contained in a short span of time.
Okay. And then the arc is going to be the need for this box, and then the invention of that and how that is used in the world, right?
I think there are a few arcs. The one arc is the invention. The other arc is the love triangle against racism view on this. The other arc would be the simple survival of this little boy, where he became an example to his elders and to his parents and so forth, to his teachers, of how to uplift yourself. They are fascinating little bits. One of the things, one of his fellow students invited him, because he needed money to study, obviously, invited him to help him start sourcing eyes. And even that is a whole incredible piece of detail, in nighttime, walking with guns to protect themselves, and then source eyes from corpses and so on. So it's got a few stories, few compartments that I think are all revealing and gripping.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rubil. Thank you, Albert. Is there any other questions from the panel? No. Albert, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Best of luck further.
Thank you. And we're moving on to our next participant. It is Andy Colombo, also from South Africa, with her short film script idea, Ames. Over to you, Andy.
Thank you. So it's day 738 in the year 2030. Amy and Roald are stuck in a storeroom halfway up Table Mountain. Outside, a desolate, apocalyptic landscape awaits, and they're stuck in a dead Cape Town as the only survivors. Amy and Roald are in somewhat of a pickle, and they have to solve the biggest problem of all, which is how do they keep their succulents alive? My name's Andy Colombo. I am the writer of Ames, which I'm pitching for you today. I'm a theatre and filmmaker from Cape Town, South Africa. Some works you might have heard of, Pan, my play, which won Best Script at Zabalaza Festival in 2018, Dying in the Now, which was recently part of Kakanka's Tekstmarkt, and also my films, Verloren, which is an animated short film that I wrote and co-directed, which won a Silver Standard Bank Ovation Award at National Arts Festival, and also Forgot Only, which is an experimental art film that has been part of National Arts Festival and Infecting the City. So, Ames is a theatre play. It was 50 minutes long. We produced it already. Today, I'm looking to pitch to get the funding and opportunity to make Ames into a short film, and then later, hopefully, into a full-length feature film. So what am I looking for? Financial backing, producers, and also any script assistance. As a theatre maker, I need all the help I can get to bring theatre into the film realm. So whatever advice you can offer is really, really going to be very useful for me, and whatever support there is. So I think the big question is, why do we do another apocalyptic film? There are so many, right? And the answer is that Ames isn't about the apocalypse. It's actually a film that's about the inevitability of failure when we try to use technology as a way to fill a gap where a person once was. It's a film about grief and love, and it's a film about loss, not only the loss of the world you know, but also the loss of a person. And I think in the wake of COVID-19, when we're all dealing with all these terrible losses, it's very relevant, not only to me, but I think will be relevant to an audience. And that's Ames. It's about starting to remember when the world ends. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Andy. We know you as a theatre maker, so it's wonderful to see in South Africa. So they don't know you yet in the Netherlands, but very soon I'm sure they'll know you as a theatre maker, and hopefully then as a short film producer, director, writer, whatever you wherever you see yourself. Do we have any questions from the panel? Yes. Ruben, there we
Quicker
go.
than I expected. So to be clear, they are alone in this world, right? The last survivors of whatever happened.
Yes. So as far as they know, they
Ah,
are
okay.
alone.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
their main goal is the survival of their children. One child, many children.
Oh no, succulents. Like sorry, it's like a desert plant here.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I have one usually, but I can't show you. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a kind of desert plant from South Africa. Yeah.
And then the main goal is survival.
Yes. So in the course of the film,
Mhm.
or and the play, we kind of assuming that the goal is survival, but coming up towards the end of the play, which will kind of be the end of the short film, we realize that the sea level's starting to rise. So at some point, they either need to make the decision that they're going to leave and see if they're the last people out there, or if they're going to drown, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. And why would they care about survival if they think they're the only ones?
So that's also, it's a key question in the film. One of the characters doesn't care, and the
Yeah.
other character is wanting to go out and kind of see if there are other people. I think his main goal is like, if there are other people, we must be with them.
Yeah.
And her goal, she doesn't have a goal. She's like, I'm done now.
Okay.
So there's like a central conflict there between, is it worth it? Is it
Okay.
even worth it to go out and try?
So it's
Yeah.
it's like an Adam and Eve kind of story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Clear. Thank you.
Hi, Andy. I have a question, a quick one. So, what do you think would be an essential element for you to translate the theatre play to an on-screen experience? What is that essential thing that you think that you would need to do that successfully?
I think for me, the essential thing would be having time in the room to work with the actors. So I have two very skilled actors, and they know the play really well. And I think having like ample filming time so that we can get the best performance out of them that feels real. I think that's the main thing, because the whole thing takes place in one room. So
Yeah.
all you've really got is the actor. And I think
Yeah.
that would be my main goal, is if we can get ample filming time, small set, and just focus really on the performance, because I think that's the key of this particular work.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks.
Oh, so who will be the other?
Okay,
Like-
so I don't know if I can do a spoiler, but I'm gonna do it. Sorry. Essentially, what we find out towards the end of the short film and the play is that Roald is not actually, he has no memory of the previous world. So he thinks he's lost his memory. We find out later that Roald is actually an AIMS, an anthropomorphic empathy simulator. So he's a clone of Amy's ex-partner that Amy's ex-partner made
Mhm.
to replace himself. So genetically they're the same, but they are not, he is not Richard. He'll never be Richard. So so he finds out kind of at the climax of the play, and will be the climax of the short film as well. But he is in fact not, like, he's not human in the kind of most of, he doesn't have like a belly button, he's not a human. He's not a human being, he's a clone, although he is a human being.
Mhm.
He will never replace the person he was made to replace. So he is the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't leave this out next time you have.
Yes. It's like such a spoiler, so I don't want to but I suppose if I'm pitching, it's good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy. Yeah, and please, this is the place where you need to give all the spoilers, I think,
Yes,
to everyone else.
really.
I'm glad you had the opportunity to do that. Thank you, Ruben, for doing that. And thank you, Andy.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the
And next, we're going to one of our participants from the Netherlands, Kies Roerda.
Hello, hi there. Thank you for listening to me. My name is Kees Roerda. I'm an Amsterdam-based playwright or screenwriter. In 2007, my screenplay Una Belata Bianca, directed by Stefano Odoardi, won the award for Best Film on the Tiburon Film Festival in San Francisco. And my latest text, Rishi, was picked as top 3 best new plays by the German Theatre State Prize in 2021. Rishi, the show, opened last June in the Origin Theatre in New York and became New York Times Critics' Pick. Looking back on the scripts I've written so far, fear for the other is always present. It's my strong conviction that real danger comes mostly from the persons we know, and acceptance of this fact arouses fear, because we have to admit that we are not even safe within our own environment. And therefore it's more comforting to distrust people we don't know outside our own social tribe. Now, this is what is Westcliffe all about. Synopsis. Joburg, South Africa, 2005. It's been 15 years since Mandela's release. Living in a wealthy gated suburb, Susan, pregnant with her second, feels increasingly unsafe as crime rates skyrocket in Joburg. Friends around her move abroad to secure their white privileged lives. Susan tries to persuade her husband Grant to follow their example, but he has a successful catering business to take care of. When a burglary takes place at the neighbors, Susan intensifies her attempts to convince her husband to leave, but Grant wants to stay. When her best friend Emma announces she's going to immigrate to the Netherlands, Susan feels devastated. But Emma promises to ask her husband Joost to help Grant to set up a new company in the Netherlands. Delighted, Susan tells her story to Grant, but Grant reacts dismissively. And when, to make matters worse, Susan's nanny, Natando, also resigns, she feels totally alone and by herself. To calm down, she takes a soothing bath, and suddenly she notices the shadow of an unknown man sneaking in her bedroom. Susan tries to hide, but is cornered and screams for help, but then discovered it's their new guard. The guard tries to calm her down. When the staff and Grant rush over to investigate, Susan, in a split second, decides to falsely accuse the guard of sexual advances. The innocent guard wants to flee, but is forced to the ground until the police have arrived. Susan begs Grant to finally give in and migrate. A month later, Susan and Grant throw their spectacular farewell party. Their entire neighborhood and circle of friends are invited. When Grant is about to give a farewell speech, the electricity suddenly goes out. Susan goes looking for candles. Joost, Emma's drunken husband, offers his help, but ends up kissing her and touching her breast in the shed. Luckily, the light flickers on again and Susan manages to escape. She flees into the garden, where Grant begins his farewell speech, in which he thanks Emma and her husband Joost for all the support. Joost receives the credits willingly. Susan applauds aloof. The following day, we see Susan and the family saying farewell to their staff and get in the car on the way to the airport. Susan cries, but we don't know whether it is because of the assault, the people she leaves behind, or the new future she is facing. That's the story.
Sorry, Kies.
Yeah, I got totally distracted by the review. Sorry for that, but
No, of course. Kies, we do have a spare minute. Not your spare minute, but I can give you a spare minute of the rest of the time. Is there anything else you want to add just to conclude? Because I know you've been interrupted.
I think it's important to know that most of the scenes will take within the walls of the mansion around the swimming pool. It's my main goal to make Susan likable, because I believe she's not a bad person, but she just does something horrible.
Kies, I'm going to open up the floor for questions. I'm sure the panel has got questions. Who would like to have a question? Sandra, can I throw this to you? Dirkie, can you bring Sandra on?
I'm also looking for a South African director. I forgot to tell this.
I was
That's
just going to ask.
Yeah, I think it's important to make a connection with a South African director.
I was going to ask about the relevance from an international audience to the story. Do you think they'll be able to relate about the Susan's kind of plight to immigrate or not, and the husband who don't want to go? Do you think that'll have relevance for an international audience?
Yes, I think so. When you feel that the danger is always present around these people, at least I think it's present. That's the whole question also. I think that will resonate to an audience, especially when you hear them and light each other with fear. I think that's that's very human. So
cool, thank you.
Right. Do we have any other questions from the panel? Nothing at the moment. Yes, Rubel.
Hi, guys. Why is the film called Westcliffe?
Well, it was the place where I stayed during. I had my own theater company. We had a performance up there, and I stayed in this very rich mansion on Westcliffe, overlooking Joburg, and nobody dared to go out of Westcliffe. And it's a very rich, wealthy suburb, and I was really surprised when I went to Hillbrow and came back, and somebody within the fenced walls told me that she hadn't been there in 15 years. So that was such a strange thing for me. But it's a very wealthy suburb with all beautiful mansions and staff and blah blah.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kies, for your presentation.
Thank you for your time and opportunity.
Thank you, Kies. All right. Next up is another South African, Dean Weiss. Welcome, Dean. Over to you.
Hello. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dean Weiss, and I'm a writer and director, and I've made 3 previous short films called Versnel, Plaashuis, and Bergie. My first 2 short films played at over 20 film festivals, including Oscar and BAFTA qualifying festivals, the most recent being Tampere Film Festival in Finland earlier this year. My third short film, Bergie, is currently represented by the Italian distribution company Lights On and will premiere next week at Rome Film Festival's parallel section Alice nella Città, and will be showcased at the Carthage Film Festival and Zenebi Bilbao in November. My new short film is a suspense thriller called Arsewils, which tells the story of a selfish tow truck driver and his naive cousin when they are the first to arrive at a grisly car accident. To our Dutch colleagues, tow truck drivers are individuals who work for towing companies. Since South Africa has one of the highest motor vehicle accident rates in the world, tow truck drivers sit and wait, day in and day out, for accidents to happen. In Arsewils, however, when the car wreck bursts into flames, the main character places himself at risk when he decides to help those trapped inside. His actions, however, have dire consequences when he causes the paralysis of one of the victims. This film deals with the theme of responsibility and explores the conflict between risking yourself for another and our impulse for self-preservation. I've been in 3 car accidents in my life. And before I could process what was happening, towing companies descended like vultures and vied for my patronage. Tow truck drivers, however, are not only trying to make a decent living and care for their families, but they're also confronted with the horrific and bloody scenes of car accidents. To research this project, I decided to talk to them and listen to their stories, as well as the difficult situations they find themselves in. The question I therefore want to pose to the audience is this: how do we take responsibility for someone else? And are we willing to place our own lives at risk for the sake of someone else? I would like to establish an international co-production with a Dutch producer so that we can access production funding and shoot next year. My 2 previous short films were shortlisted at Locarno and Semaine de la Critique at Cannes. So I hope that with our scores, we can make the final step to an official selection. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dian. That's fantastic. On time. Dian, I'm going to open up, and Sakila has got a question for you.
Hi, Dian. So my question. So I'm just going to ask you 2 short questions. The first one is the length of this film, and the second one is it a short documentary or a fiction film? Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Hallo Dian, kan jy ons hoor? Oh dear. It seems that Dian has lost sound.
No, can't hear you.
No. I wonder why. Dirkie, is there a solution to this? Dian, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. I can't hear anyone else.
Okay, great. Sakile, if you can ask your question.
Hi, Dian. Just 2 short questions. So yeah, the first question was the length of your short film. The second question was, is this a short documentary or a fiction film? What is it? The format? If you can just briefly explain that.
So it will be between 12 and 15 minutes, and it's a fiction short film.
Thank you, Sakile. Thank you, Dian. Olga also has a question, so we can bring in Olga.
Hi, Dian. Thank you for sharing your pitch. I have a question relating to the relatability of the concept of tow truck drivers to a Dutch audience, for instance. Do you think that that concept has the ability to travel, but while taking into account the universal themes that you've shared with us regarding self-preservation, being in a position to necessitate helping someone? What are your thoughts on that?
Sorry, can you just say the first part of your question again?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Do you think that a international audience, for instance, will relate to a core part of the story being the role that tow truck drivers play in South Africa? Do you think that has enough in it so that the story can travel?
Yes. So I think while the story is very specific to South Africa, the broader theme of taking responsibility for someone in need, I think, is a universal theme. And I think it's a very necessary theme in today's world, because we are living in a world where people are all the more retreating into their enclaves and only trying to fend for themselves or for their own group of people. And I think this broader theme really helps with sort of breaking down those barriers and trying to think, but what can I do to take responsibility for someone else or risk myself for the sake of someone else?
Thanks, Dion.
Thank you, Olga.
Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Dion. I think that's all the questions for you today. Thank you for your pitch. All right. Next is Brown from South Africa. Brown, are you in the room? There we go. Over to you.
Thank you very much for holding this space. I don't take the opportunity to share the story lightly. My name is Brown Hindiker. I am a storyteller from Cape Town. My work as a storyteller is focused around hip-hop. Hip-hop not as a musical genre, but as a connection of sonic work, of movement, of rhythm and poetry and visual storytelling, known as knowledge of self. I've spent the last decade contributing to academic spaces, stages and streams and seminars, as well as having my unique voice be celebrated at the South African Hip Hop Museum for my work in queer representation within the realm. So the passion and foundation as a scribe, combined with my want to have my work to have the furthest reach possible, culminated in the story, the 31st of December, 1999, which is a short film, 7 minutes, encompassing the ideas of identity and reimagining of identity and also memory. The point of view of my main character, a 20-year-old Desiree Domingo, who is from a tri-continental lineage, in South African context referred to as a colored body. She's the first out person in her family and experiences her life through the traumas and the expectations of her matriarchal lineage. She has a natural talent, but is very cloistered and is finding it hard to find her own voice. Vis-a-vis to this kind of coming up with original art. There's people need to have her original thought and be able to submit herself into a art program. Has kind of in the story dislodges this question of identity.
I'm muted for some reason.
I'm muted.
I don't know why I've got a feedback at the moment, but Brown, I've got to stop you. Unfortunately, your sound is very bad, so we can't hear you clearly. So what we'll do is we're going to see if we can check that in between, and we'll be in contact and see if we can put you at the end of the session, if that's okay.
Thank you. I'm so sorry about that.
No, don't worry about that. We'll sort it out, and we'll make sure that we go there. Brown will be with you soon again. I just want to double check if we've got Simona in the room already.
Yes.
Our next participant. We've got Simona Duvel.
Yeah, I was a bit confused with the order because it changed. So I'm back in the waiting room.
It has changed. I'm sorry, we had to, that's the thing with online. We've got technical difficulties and we have to deal with that as well. So Simona, if you need a moment to just take a deep breath.
Yes.
Then, yeah, take your time because we jumped on you now. So you are more than welcome to.
Yeah, well, let's get it over with. I think that's the best for me.
No, I know you're going to speak with passion. Can't wait to hear your short film idea.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Hello, my name is Simona Duvel. I'm a writer. I learned how to write screenplays in the Dutch soap opera industry. The main soap I worked for was Goeie Tijden, Slechte Tijden. I learned a lot of stuff during those years, and at a certain point I wanted to develop myself even further, and I quit my job and started writing as a freelance screenplay writer for a lot of Dutch TV series. To name one, Footballers' Wives. I also did a comedy called Sprint, but I also did series for children, like Het Verborgen Eiland, and I was the head writer of Spangas for 2 years. I made time to write free work also during those jobs, and one of those projects is Jill, the one I'm going to pitch to you right now. It's a short film. It's a feel-good fairy tale with absurdist elements. And the theme is immigration, which is a very important topic, which should be addressed more, in my opinion. Well, let me introduce you to Jill. She's a black lady from South Africa. She's strong, funny, and with an occasional angry outburst, then she swears like a sailor. She has inherited a piece of land and a farm in a northern district of the Netherlands called Friesland, which is located at a very tiny village. The film enters. Jill decides to move there. In the film starts when she enters the pub, where all the local villagers are present. One of them is a big farmer who, when he sees Jill, he falls in love with her immediately. But there's also a grumpy young woman who is in love with this guy, and she hates Jill immediately, like the rest of the villagers, because they're very scared of this strange woman. It's a very close, tiny community, and they don't like it that she comes live with them. So 2 old farts decide to come up with a cunning plan to get rid of her, and the grumpy young woman helps them. In the meantime, Jill tries to fit in. She buys a big raven black Frisian horse and rides around in the green fields, and she works her land, and she visits the pub, but it doesn't really work. In the meantime, the cunning plan backfires, and even the grumpy woman and Jill become friends because of this failing plan. And then Jill starts winning more hearts of the villagers, and she builds this wooden school for the children, which is a big thing for the village because nothing happened there for many years. And then the old farts don't really have a choice anymore. They make Jill do a test, a traditional test, and she passes it. But unfortunately for all the villagers, and especially the children who love Jill, it's too late now because she decides to leave and rides away on her black horse. That's the story. I would love to develop this story into a screenplay and to find people who can coach me doing that, and to bring the screenplay to life in a film someday. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. Well done. It's very interesting that the Dutch participants are actually all, not all, but a lot of you are writing South African characters as well, and including that in your. What is your research that you've done, Simone?
To be honest, Jill was not from South Africa in the beginning, but because of this project, I moved her from Ghana to South Africa. The idea was that the inheritance she has is from many centuries ago, from like this old Dutch slave man who was married to a black woman centuries ago, and the inheritance stayed in the family for so many years, and then nobody ever came to get the piece of land, but Jill does.
Okay. Sakili, you've got a question.
No, I think Hugo, it kind of like answers my question, because I wanted to find out how does she acquire land. I mean, Jill is South African, and how does she acquire land in
Holland?
I was just I just wanted to find out about that.
Well, it's a very old. It goes way back.
Okay.
And the villagers stole this land in the meantime, of course, but nothing grows on it in the film till Jill shows up, and then she starts working it, and stuff happens.
Okay.
Hi, Simona.
Hi.
Hi. Is it a period piece?
What's that mean?
Is it in the here and now, or is it in the 50s or 60s?
It's difficult because it's the it's not really realistic. The village is really closed off. They never see anybody else but the other villages. So it's a bit weird, the atmosphere.
Okay.
So it is nowadays, but they don't use computers or cell phones. The village is really, really old-fashioned, traditional, and yeah, well, nothing happens there. So it's not realistic in that sense.
Okay, and the world where Jill comes out of has the same kind of thing.
No, but we don't see that world. But that's, you can say that's the present.
Okay, and then, but she doesn't take any technology or modernity.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rabil. Thank you so much. Oh, wait, there's one more question from Sandra.
Sorry, it's a quick one. You mentioned absurdist elements.
Yes.
Do you have an example of one and how it would play out on screen?
Well, for one thing, what we talked about just a minute ago, it's really weird that the village is so closed off. So they don't use modern techniques, and they're very old-fashioned, and people are really, really ugly. For example, the Frisian people, and it's really it's more in the atmosphere than in the. It's not like there are made-up stuff. It's more that it's weird.
Thanks. Thank you.
That's answering your question.
Yes, thanks.
Great. Thank you. That's it. Now you can breathe.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. And our next participant is Selelo Mabela. Selelo, are you in the room? We are looking forward to welcoming you. Selelo is loading. Selelo, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but that's okay.
Is it? Wait.
I don't know why we can't see. Wait, there we go. It seemed for a moment that there's an image coming on.
Because my camera's on.
Okay. I think, Selelo, there we can see something happening, but.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't know. My camera is on.
Yeah.
And you can hear me. I don't know. I haven't covered my camera or anything like that.
Don't worry, Selelo. We can hear you clearly. So don't be thrown by this. We can always record the visual afterwards. It's a pity we can't see you. But I think continue with your pitch because we can hear you clearly.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Selelo Mabela, and I'm a filmmaker. I was one of the writers for Kalishi, which is on Netflix, and I've written 3 feature films that have aired on Mzansi Magic, which is a local television show in South Africa. I'm currently developing an animation series titled Lolo, which is a series about a young girl who has an alter ego of a fearless African ninja. And I'm really passionate about African mythology, and this project is one of the projects that I intend on creating. So the title of my project is Matlala, which simply means mother of drought. Matlala is an African mythology romantic fiction that is based on a Tswana folklore about a Tswana tribe called the Batsatsi, which means those of the sun. When Princess Tsatsi gets impregnated by a rival tribe called Bangwedi, those of the moon, she is banned from the tribe, and wherever she goes, she brings drought, and so does her offspring. Fast forward to 2022, we meet Nale Buhale and Hendrik Visser, who are a young couple in university. On their graduation day, they spontaneously decide to get married, and a few days after graduation, they inherit Shirley Farm. Shirley Farm has been in the Visser family for decades and is one of the most successful farms in the Northwest. But what they don't know is that Nale is a descendant of Tsatsi, and not only is she a curse herself, but she's going to wreak havoc and destroy another family's legacy. So the question is, will love triumph in the end, or will a generational curse destroy it? Matlala is a love story about confronting the past so that it doesn't affect the future. I'm looking for a producer and a director to bring this beautiful story to life. Thank you.
you. We wish we could see you, Salelo, but we heard you clearly. I'm going to open it. No, don't worry about it. The important thing is that we can hear you and we can hear your passion for the project.
Okay.
I'm going to open up the room for questions. Panel, who would like to go first? Can Olga please ask her question?
Hi, Salelo. I have a question. Who do you identify as the other in your story?
The other in my story is Nelly. I identify her as the other.
Okay, and why? Can you elaborate on that?
I identify her as the other because she's getting into a world. She's marrying into a family that has a different background from her. She's marrying into an Afrikaner family, and she has to basically just adjust to the living conditions. I mean, all her life she's been a nomad. She's been traveling with her mother. They've been moving from one place to the other. And because her mother also knows about this curse, and they can't stay in one place for a long time. And she's been a nomad all her life. And when she marries this guy, she's forced to settle into this foreign world in a farm. She's never lived in a farm. And she has to adjust to the living environment, but also to the culture as well, and to the way that as a family, how they do things, And it's sort of a shock, to her, to her system. But also, even when she finds out about this curse as well, she also feels isolated. She feels like she doesn't fit in. So I identify her as the other. Yeah.
Thanks, Salelo.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, Salelo. Nice to meet you. Hi, I had a question. So she is. So drought comes with her as a curse,
yes,
right?
Wherever she goes, yes.
Okay, like some kind of supernatural being.
Yes.
Okay. It seems like it's depending on what her love interest family does. She seems like the worst person to be with.
Yes.
So I was wondering if the form of this story is going to be like a Romeo and Juliet story, or is there another angle to it?
Yes, it's a Romeo and Juliet because obviously it's two people coming from two different backgrounds coming together. They love each other, but obviously they also have, even when they spontaneously decide to get married on their graduation day, it's because they are in love, They don't really think about the future as to how the two families are going to actually take the marriage. And also bringing into the curse at play now, it's gonna be a challenge because now the sister family is going to feel like Hendrik brought this problem into this family. They've been living a comfortable life, and here's this girl. She's coming with this supernatural thing, a curse. They don't believe in that. But at the end of the day, Hendrik loves Nali, and they want to make it work, And also, one thing I should.
We're a little bit strapped of time, but it's
okay.
Thank you for answering my question. I had a follow-up question: is how does the film end?
The film ends. Love triumphs in the end. They decide to put their love first, and they Hendrik and Nale decide to start a new life somewhere else.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a very quick question. I was just wondering how you will set up our two main characters. Are you going for the stereotypical Afrikaans man and the young black girl, or do you have a surprise for us in the execution of your characters?
I haven't really thought about that, but for me, because they meet at a university in Northwest University, it's a thing of they just fall in love with each other despite the skin colors. For me, I don't want to dwell on a black girl and a white girl. I want to focus on how two people fall in love despite their background, despite their skin color. and they try to make it work despite the stereotypes, despite the criticism, and despite what society wants them to do. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Solelo. We will make sure to re-record this for you so that we can see your face.
Okay,
but
thank
we
you.
could hear you clearly, and the idea is right there. Oh, wait, we've got one more question. I just saw it. Sorry, Rebel.
Okay.
So, but just to respond on Sandra's question a little bit. So let me get this clear that if it is going to be a black girl who's basically the bringer of death,
Yes.
with a white man choosing her, is that going to be? I mean, there's a lot of people who will judge that in some way. Did you think about that?
And I expect that people to judge, because remember, in filmmaking, we are supposed to talk about such things. Africans, we believe in curses. We believe in the supernatural. And even if the one party doesn't believe in it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it doesn't matter whether people say no, they judge her or whatnot. But it's what she inherited. She didn't ask for it. But maybe in the end, the curse will be broken, So it's not, we also want to just highlight that people come with, if you're falling in love with someone comes with certain things, and you as a person need to choose whether you want to stick with that person with the baggage that they come with or not. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebel. That's Solelo. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Have a lovely day. All right. And up next, we have another South African participant, Jody Gunther. Jody, are you here?
I'm here.
Jody,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you. Over
Wonderful.
to you, Jody.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jody Gunther. I live and work from South Africa. I have interesting freelance acting experience in the entertainment industry. I studied theater with ancient cultures and recently fine arts with philosophy, and I completed my honors in illustration this year. So, working in the entertainment industry as a performer and as a voice artist and an actor, I mean, if you think about an actor, what an actor really does most of the time is sitting, waiting, reading other people's texts and waiting in audition rooms mostly. So I have read a lot of text that other people wrote in that experience. This text was written for Tekstmarkt, and I use it in my honors in illustration, which is which I researched narrative theory and the relationship between image and a text is what illustration really is about. So yes, my text is called Tape. It has regards to a theme, the other. There's a female character and a male character. I don't know if you have read the script. I assume that you have. If you have not, then please read it. The information about how I see the film being made is quite. It's everything in it. It's in the paperwork. So yeah, the character, her character, the female character, represents, I think, with regards to the theme, the other, all women and all oppressed and suppressed cultures, and he, maybe in a political context, represents patriarchy and the Western dominant male that makes us uncomfortable. I don't like to blame certain groups or people for things, and I don't want to be sexist, so I am aware of everything else. The story, what I like about the script is she is presenting, or she's asking, demanding an apology. She's apologizing, so it starts as an apologetic narrative, and then she at the end, she demands an apology of him. And I think if you demand an apology, or if we ask to say sorry for something, you offer a kind of forgiveness. And I think forgiveness is actually what it's about. But regrettably, it's too late because she fucking killed him already. So that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, it's interesting. I know that you worked on the subject matter, etc., in your visual arts studies as well. Yeah, and you kind of working on an exhibition as well regarding all of this, right? Yeah. I think we've got a question from. I just want to see who's got a question. I think I'm going to throw this to Olga. Oh, Sandra, there we go.
I was just wondering hi, and thank you for the pitch, Mary. Where does it play out? Where is it set?
The location of the film, it's because it's a short film. It's in one location. The actual location I have here in my garden. It's an outdoor building with a beautiful deck, and if you stand from afar, and the idea around panning the camera in comes from at nighttime, the space can be lit very beautifully. So if you move from far in the garden into, I kind of visualized. Yeah, so the location is at my house. Yes, I've got a huge studio kind of space with lots of opportunities as the location.
But basically one kind of feel.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
But not a real space, a made space. I mean, film world. Yes.
Hi, Trude. Thank you for sharing your pitch with us. I have a question regarding the magical realism that forms a part of your story.
Yes.
How would you portray this on screen, or what type of devices do you think you would use to communicate that part of the story?
Ooh, magical realism is so, yeah, it's so beautiful. I think I'm thinking color is my answer to create this space visually, artistically, yeah, with the art direction or with the interior. Magical, I don't know, what does magic realism mean to you?
Yeah, so
I'm wondering. So I'll have to think, but definitely with the color grading and the texture of the interior, I would say.
Yeah, because in my mind,
Hmm?
it doesn't necessarily form part of the story, but it's a feeling that's being communicated on screen. Yeah, it would be very interesting to see that. Yeah.
Definitely.
And then just one more question, very quickly.
Yeah.
The duration of the film. What's the ideal length of the film?
I worked with 7 minutes. 7 minutes for me, with a leave each or a little bit more or even less, but 1 page per minute, I think would be definitely around there.
Thank you, Trude.
Pleasure. Next.
I had a question. Why is the film called Tape?
Ooh, I want to show you why. No, okay. The film called Tape is Type Ape. I like the idea of working with our human existence experiences. So we are type apes, aren't we? I don't like to say that either, because we're not. We're amazing, intelligent human beings. But yes, and then I think I work with tape in my work as a visual artist. Tape holds things together. I like it refers to the old school tape recording, and I quite like that in this script that what we see could be a recording, because he's as the way the camera records the information, and we don't know that yet, but then it is somebody else. It's an onlooker, the observer. I think so. So yeah, as if it's a recording that's being watched. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah?
Thank you, Rabil. Thank you, Trudy. I think those are all the questions. I just want to double check here in our chat. No, that's all the questions for you. Thank you, Trudy.
Thank you. Cool. Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Bye.
Great. Next, we have Louisa. Louisa, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
There we go. We can see you. We can hear you. Over to you to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Louisa Calore, and I've been working in film and television for over 30 years. I started in production very, very, very long time ago with a company called Trillion Video, and then I moved over, trained as a makeup artist, and I moved over into the makeup department, and now I'm slowly transitioning into writing, producing, and directing. So I've read many scripts, and of course screenwriting was one of my subjects when I studied film, and this is my third opportunity to pitch a film, and I'm the writer of the film, and it's called We have a problem in South Africa. Pregnancies are on the rise, and the question is, what are we doing as a society that puts our young girls at such high risk of becoming parents at such a young age? And what are we asking our teenagers? So Nadia and Sinazo are two inspiring young friends who are frustrated with the sexual harassment at their school and the school's attitude of boys will be boys. So they are determined to spotlight the issues that surround this vulnerability of young girls at school level. Because sometimes even pregnant or not pregnant girls are ostracized, stigmatized, and marginalized. I think lots of women can identify with it. But who's holding the boys accountable for the role that they play in making babies, or, are forcing girls into corners and feeding them up? These are the things that's happening at their schools. Girls are afraid to go to toilets alone because the attitude of the school is that if they pull the trigger, they'll start a war. So there is no ways that they are going to be part of a campaign called #It'sNotOkay. But these two girls are determined to do this, and so so this is a social impact film, I think. That's what I call it. And it's a roller coaster ride of emotions, of unexpected resistance, of carrying on. And there is nothing that will stop Nadia and Sinazo, because they want to be heard. Even they want the pregnant ones to be heard. They want the sexual harassed ones to be heard. They want the government, they want society to take part in this campaign. So what I'm looking for is development funding, production funding, and producer, somebody that I can learn from. I'm going to direct the film. Yeah, sure. I think I must breathe now. I'm going to, and it's about 20 minutes long, the duration of the film.
Thank you, Louisa. We here and there, we lost you a little bit on the sound, but we could follow everything that you said. And I think your passion for this project and the story and the issue comes through very, very strongly. I'm going to open up the floor immediately to the panel.
Hello?
Just want to, I've got Sakile, and then Rabil.
Hi, Louisa. Sorry, I couldn't hear some parts, but I just wanted to find out, in terms of your story, what makes you, what element of it makes you think that it will have an international appeal?
Thanks for your question, Sakile. I think that in general, with Me Too movements, and all of that, that women and young girls go through the same thing. It doesn't matter what race they are. And I think that the problem that we have here, I might be highlighting it in South Africa, but we could have, I haven't done that kind of research. I've only researched and spoken to young girls in South Africa, but I'm sure that it is a global problem and that it happens in other countries. I think there has been teenage mom stories on television from other countries. So I do think that it will have attract a global audience if in empowering young women to stand up for themselves, but also to educate our young men on how to actually engage with girls at school level.
Okay, thank you. And how long is this short film?
I have 20 minutes. Yeah, a 20-minute film, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Louisa. I can really feel the urgency of you wanting to tell this story. I understand why it's important, but what is not very clear to me is what is the plot of the story. So I understand it thematically, but I don't really get how this is all going to be intertwined into a film.
Okay, so they have so when they start the campaign and they get all the flack from the principal and from some of the teachers that it is not okay, they start an underground discussion, and they do pamphlets. It gets out into social media, and that is how the story then unfolds. And actually, somebody from the Department of Education feels that, wait a minute, we need to actually listen to what the young people have to say. And then with what the young people have to say, there is this expose of how girls are feeling on how they are being treated at school with sexual harassment, with the boys will be boys attitude, and how when girls are pregnant, that's only recently in South Africa, they are allowed to go back to school, but you are still ostracized. So then through Nadia and Sanazo, we highlight and we show the threads of the different things that have happened at school and how these girls are trying to cope with the peer pressure and with being heard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rubil. Do we have any other questions? No one from the panel. Great. Louisa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can breathe now. But yeah, that's the thing about load shedding, right? I must just say that you're sitting in the middle of load shedding, so you made a plan to actually be here. So that's why we've got a little bit of technical problems and sound problems. Thank you, Eskom.
Yes.
We could hear, we could hear most of it. Thank you, Louisa. All right. Up next, we've got someone from the Netherlands. Tosca, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
There we go. Hello, Tosca. Welcome.
Hi.
I'm going to leave it to you to introduce your short film and yourself.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Tosca Mitkowska. I'm a screenwriter and illustrator from the Netherlands. A few years ago, I wrote a 6-episode television series called Panacea for a very young production company called Paradise Entertainment. And the rights were sold to ZDF Studios. Currently, I work as an illustrator for Doplines. Their documentary Nikki just premiered at the Dutch Film Festival on the 26th of September and is now available for viewing at the Dutch streaming service Videoland. The story that I want to pitch for you is actually a tribute to my grandmother because she's an amazing person and she has a real zest for life. She's kind and active and she speaks her mind. And she's actually like the real opposite to the main characters in my story, who are all very sour. The title of my short film is alles voor elkaar. This translates as everything for each other, but it also means to be successful. And it's designed as a spoof on sitcoms such as Friends, How I Met Your Mother, Seinfeld, those kinds of series. And it asks the question, how are they now? Like these really cool people that have this amazing shared apartment and have such a nice friendship, how are they now? So my main characters are 4 friends, and they're very different in how they are. Like they each have like different traits. We have like an egocentric strategist, an overly giving people pleaser, a hypochondriac health nut. And another difference is that they are old. They are no longer young and in their 20s, but they are old. So they want to avoid like giving up their independence and having to live in a senior home. And so they come up with a solution to like recreate this ideal situation from their youth, and they join forces and live together once again. But it's not so ideal this time, because like this whole individual life, etc., that they led, like being typical millennials, has like basically like settled each of them into like a very like different character, and now they have to deal with their differences. You know, the theme of the story is to enjoy life, we need other people. So it's about community in the end, and the value of friendship. And yeah, I'm looking for a producer who can appreciate how funny this story will be and how it relates to like important themes in Holland, such as like saving up for a pension and having a house. So thank you.
Thank you, Tosca. We caught you in a car. Are you?
Yes, I'm
at
work. I'm at work.
Oh.
I took some time to sit here, and here I have some privacy. So yeah.
It's wonderful. A pitch out of a car. There we go.
Yes.
I'm opening up the floor for questions to the panel. Just want to double check. Yes.
Hi, Tosca. I have a question. How long is this film going to be?
25 minutes.
And then in that 25 minutes, are you going to tell the young and the old part of the same people, or just the old?
It starts with a very short flashback from when the characters are young, and they walk past a retirement home, and they make a pact together to never end up like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we've got Sandra.
Hi. Thank you for sharing the idea. I love that there's a comedy genre as well. I was just wondering about the other, how it relates to the theme of the other. Is the other, is that represented by when they were young, or who do you see as the other?
Well, it's very much in how they are each different. So I don't know how to translate this, but yeah, they each of them has settled in a particular way. Like people often, like you know, have each have their own experiences, and it shapes people, obviously, as we all know. And then you suddenly have to relate to other people, and living together. I think this can be very confrontational, especially if you're used to living like a very independent, individualistic life. So they're constantly in each other's space. So that's how it relates to the theme of the other.
Thank you. I think you can have a lot of fun with your characters.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Sandra just mentioned it. It's wonderful to also see the diversity in the different genres of the short films that's here today, and it comes from different angles and different themes of that connects to the other. Tosca, it seems that you're in your car and you need to go back to work. I don't know how
I'm in
long you
no
can do
rush.
that.
No, if you want to end it, that's fine, of course. But I'm in no rush, so please
No.
don't
I
worry about
don't
that.
see any other questions, so I think the panel has asked all the questions they want to, everything they want to know, they know now. Thank you,
Okay.
Tosca.
Yes, thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Bye.
Bye bye.
All right, and up next, we're moving very, very fast. Up next, we've got Jody Sank. Jody, are you in the room?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. Well, over to you, Jody.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm Jody Sank, a director and screenwriter based in Johannesburg, South Africa. And my previous works include I Am Here, which is a feature documentary that won a SAFTA for Best Feature Documentary. Leemtes en Leegheid, a short film that won Best Short Film at Kykenet Silverscam Fees. And I also recently won a SAFTA for Emerging Filmmaker, which is an award that goes to a filmmaker that's making waves in the industry. And I'm very excited and I feel privileged to speak to you today about my upcoming short film, Amazeze, which translates to Fleas. It's a 12-minute short film and will be done in Shona and Zulu with English subtitles. And it's a story that focuses on xenophobia in South Africa and its harrowing effects on innocent youth today. And it's a story that centers on Sinzeni, a young Zimbabwean boy living in a South African township, and he anxiously awaits his mother's return from work at nightfall, fearing the worst for her due to a bout of xenophobic attacks. And he also watches over his gravely ill younger brother who's bedridden, who becomes desperate for drinking water. And with no running water in their shack, Sinzeni must now creep outside like a rodent in the shadows to the shared communal amenities to bring his brother back safe drinking water, and in doing so must risk his life from his neighbors who are attacking foreigners. And I feel so passionate about telling this story because as a Jew and a filmmaker who's done extensive research into the Holocaust, I know what hatred looks like when it's taken to the extreme. And it all starts with terrible rhetoric, calling a group of people blood-sucking lice or fleas. And this is why this film is so important to make, so that people can understand and empathize with foreigners, particularly youth in South Africa today. And I think it's so important to tell the story now, as xenophobia is once again on the rise in South Africa due to movements such as Operation Dudula, who are taking the law into their own hands and threatening and intimidating foreign immigrants. And just a few months ago, I witnessed firsthand there were 20 foreigners' shops that were burnt down in the Yeovil market in Johannesburg, which was just absolutely terrible. And with South Africa's unstable economy and lack of employment, it's unfortunately inevitable that this tension and scapegoating will continue to escalate. So Sinzeni's character, he's the epitome of youthful innocence, and he just wants to live a normal life as a kid does, but he's plagued with fears. What if my mother doesn't return from work? What if they come for my brother and I? And unfortunately, this is what many immigrant children in South Africa are grappling with today, and the damaging burden that they have to bear. And our film ends with him carrying his dying brother to the hospital, with his neighbors standing by idly, not willing to help them. And you can look in the folders that you'll be sent. You can see more of the director's treatment, but this film will be treated as one take, so that we can walk alongside the character, and with each corner he turns and every step he takes, to be able to feel as though that we're going on this journey, and with mounting anxiety with Sinzeni. So we're looking for co-producers, partners, and production funding to take the project forward. And I look forward to hopefully being able to speak to you more about the project further and its ability to affect hearts and minds and bring about significant social change. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Jody. I am going to open up to the panel for questions. I think let's start with Olga. Can I ask you?
Yeah. Thanks, Ifa. Hi, Jody. Yes, it's such a powerful story of of humanity that you're just pitched. It's truly, yeah. I have a question pertaining to the use of music in in your short film. Will that by any chance contribute to the story, how you'll be telling it? You mentioned a one shot. Um, can you tell us more about that and the reasoning behind it, which is very ambitious? I'm very excited about something like that. Yeah.
Great. So I think I'll speak a little bit about the one shot first, and then go to your first part of the question. So yeah, I think the reason that we want to do it in real time in one take is to, I think there's a certain amount of mounting tension that grows as the camera and you as the audience are turning corners with the character, not sort of sure what you're going to experience next, and having to hide in the shadows with him from his neighbors. So there's amount of unease that gets caused without cutting the camera, and I think that ties into the next part of your question, which is because it's all happening in real time, the sound design will play a huge role in bringing the world of this character to life and the world of the story to life. Dogs barking in the distance, the sound of rattling as he walks past a wire fence. These sounds of the, I guess, the landscape of the township and the impending fear that he feels. The sound design plays a huge role in terms of the actual music and scoring. At the moment, I'm unsure whether there will be music and scoring, because I do feel like the world will really, really come to life in the sound design, and that will create a fear and tension.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you.
Jody, I'm just quickly checking here if anyone else has got questions, but it seems that your pitch is very, very clear. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and I do hope it gets made.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. All right. We are now, we've got Marlon in the room. So up next is Marlon van App of the Netherlands. Marlon? Oh no, we don't have Marlon in the room yet. So let's go to Brown. We're going to try you again. Hopefully the connection is fine now. Oh no, we've lost Brown. We do have Sylvain in the room. I'm looking at notes here on the side for those who are just watching. I'm not this crazy person that just makes up what's... We've got Sylvain. Brown is back. There we go. Let's see if we can connect Brown and if the sound is better. Brown, let's see if we can hear you.
Is that clear? 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let's try that. I think you must just project and to talk very, very loudly, and let's see if we can go through it. It's a little bit better than last time.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your patience and for your willingness to hold space for new stories. I appreciate it. I am Amy Brown Hindiker. I'm a hip hop storyteller from Cape Town in South Africa. My work is puts emphasis on the elements of hip hop, which include movement, sonic compilation, rhythm and poetry, and visual storytelling towards something called knowledge of self. I've had the chance to spend the last decade having my voice be amplified and celebrated on screens and in seminars, in academic spaces, and have also been celebrated in the South African Hip Hop Museum for my work in queer representation within the realm. My passion and foundation is ascribed, along with my want to have my work have the furthest reach possible, as birthed the story that I want to pitch to you today, called the 31st of December 1999. It's Afrikaans English 7-minute short surrounding the themes of reimagining identity and memory. The story follows a turning 21-year-old queer body named Desiree Domingo. She's the first out person in the family and experiences her life through the traumas and expectations of her matriarch. She's a naturally talented visual artist and finds a blockage with coming up with ideas from her mind's eye, and so she imitates family photographs until such time that she has an encounter with a graffiti artist who challenges her to go inside of herself. The superficial requirement to create an original piece of work to get into art school start to dislodge questions and truths about her estranged grandmother, about her unknown father, and about her as the fruit of a teenage love affair that happened by the seaside. I've chosen to use the ocean as a portal and conduit into between live action and a somewhat animated depiction. I chose this and welcomed the surreal realm to further iterate the nuances of my own cultural background as a mixed race South African. The idea that sometimes these questions cannot be answered by provable facts, and so we are urged as creators and storytellers to fill in these blanks for ourselves. I feel like the timing of the story is important for me because we are living in a state of hypervisibility. Queer and narratives, mixed race narratives are at the forefront, but I fear that sometimes the hypervisibility doesn't always translate into fair and just representation. And since dreaming up the story, I've become acquainted with the characters and familiarizing myself with them and how they might, respond. I do feel that in the spirit of hip hop, I would want this story to be a collaborative multimedia experience. And so I'm hoping that interested contributors would assist in creating the visual elements of the story and really bring it to life. I do feel it's a story that transcends generations, and I have found it to be a personal catharsis. And if I can even share a little bit of that with anyone watching it, then that would be a win for me. Yeah, thank you for listening. I welcome any questions and feedback.
Thank you, Brown. We still struggled a little bit to hear you, but it was much clearer than the previous time. I'm going to open the floor for Rebil.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for your pitch. It was still a little bit hard to hear, but I could understand enough. The question I have. So early in the pitch, you were talking about that it's a story about three people and how their lives interconnect, right?
Well, primarily three people, and yes, the way in which memory overlaps itself, and the way in which different accounts of those memories kind of shape the narratives. So, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. And then what is the main arc of the film? Because 7 minutes is not a lot of time, especially if you have three people.
Well, the gentleman who she meets along the way, Kyle, his name is Kyle. I have more positioned him as a catalyst for the story and will less be delving into who he is. So the story focuses on the matriarch, her mother, and herself, and essentially her not having the truth about who her father is and finding almost solace in the power that she has to reimagine the context under which she was born.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brown. And we've got another question from Sakile.
Hi, Emmy. So my question is with regards to the title of your short film. Can you just briefly explain that for me?
Absolutely. So Desiree uncovers through through her own investigation that she was in fact conceived on the beach by her two teenage parents during the eve of Y2K. So essentially on the 31st of December 1999, she was being created by these teenage lovers, and the shame of that is what caused her grandmother to send her away, her mother to send her away. And so by planting that date there, I hope to leave questioned for the viewer, but also create a link in the way in which the timeline plays a part.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sakile. I just want to see if there's any other questions from the panel. Yes, Olga has got a question, and also Sandra. So first Olga and then Sandra.
Hi, Amy. I just want to make sure that I heard correctly. You made reference to using animation, a combination of animation and live action in the short. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. It's my intention
Yes.
for in the moments when she's reimagining something that is not realistic, that perhaps the use of animation allows to show the tension between those two worlds for her.
Okay, okay. Thank you. I just wanted that clarification. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
And the
Thank
three.
you, Olga. And we're going to Sandra.
Oh, sorry. Just a quick comment that I think your characters and the memory overlapping part of your story is rich enough to consider making it a little longer than 7 minutes. That's it.
Thank you, Sandra. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Sandra. Brown, I think that's all the questions from the panel. Thank you so much. At last, second time around.
Thank you for your patience. I appreciate you.
No, thank you. Right, up next, and it seems that she's ready, Marlon van App from the Netherlands. Marlon, you'll have to tell us where you are at the moment before you start your pitch.
Oh, I'm at hello everybody. I'm at the WCOS in Copenhagen at the moment. That's the World Conference of Screenwriters, which is the first time after COVID, after 2018, that it's and it's super interesting and it's marvelous. It's amazing to be in the room with so many screenwriters and wonderful panels. It's amazing. So I'm backstage now.
Thank you for making time in your schedule there, and it's fantastic. That's what's a great. That's a great thing about. We've got some technical difficulties with connections, etc. But that's a great thing about technology is that we can tune into with people everywhere around the world. So, Marlon,
Yeah, I feel very international now. Yeah.
Take a deep breath, and over to you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Well, my name is Marleen van Erp. I'm based in Rotterdam. I'm a Dutch filmmaker and screenwriter. And I started off after studying film and photography in Rotterdam at the Willem de Koning Academy as a documentary maker. And for the last years, I'm writing fiction. One of my first fiction movies was nominated at the Raindance Festival for the 1 minute competition, which is called the film is called Peaches. And just last month, 2 short films are released. One is called Nightcrawler, in Dutch is Nachtbraker, a 20-minute short about a young boy who leaves his family. And also Queen's Day, a 7-minute short. Well, today I'm here to talk about Halfpad. Halfpad is a short which is located in the Free State in South Africa. On the road, 2 men meet. The first one is Arthur. Arthur is loosely based on a documentary portrait of a refugee living in Rotterdam, which I made 1.5 years ago. Arthur has traveled after 30 years being in the Netherlands to the south of Africa because his daughter is adopted. He has never seen her, and it's his last chance to connect with someone in his family after losing everything. On the road, he meets with Harry, a Dutch accountant, a guy who is running errands for his rich, eccentric boss, and he's on his way to buy a lion cub. And they meet on the road when Harry gets a flat tire, and Arthur is the one who helps him. It's a short movie about two men meeting, and they need each other. Harry needs Arthur to fix his wheel, and Arthur needs him to because he's hitchhiking and he needs to go to the south of the country. And on the road, they learn and they see in each other. Well, actually, they blame each other for the disappointments in their life. And Arthur sees in the white man the personification of somebody of a country who never admitted him to be there, and who took away his only child. And Harry, who is hunting for security through his financial career, he's hoping for well, he's hunting for a better job, promotion, sorry, and he sees in Arthur a man. He learns through Arthur to connect with his family. And it's a movie about, sorry, I have the small peek. Both feel trapped by society and need the other to finally break free from their inner anger. And it's about finding freedom through connecting to the other instead of connecting to the other by letting go. And I'm looking for producers, and I'm looking for festival programs which can help me get on the road and develop this movie into a short, which I hope to do. So that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Marlon. I'm going to open the floor to the panel. Who would like to go first? Let's see if we've got a show of hands here. Olga, can I ask you to ask a question?
Hi, Marlene.
Hi.
How long do you envision this film to be, the duration?
Yeah, I think it will be around 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a really short movie, and so
yeah,
for now I'm leaning towards the 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah.
And do you perhaps have a location in mind?
Yeah, actually, I do have a specific location in mind. It's in the Free State, around the area of the small place that's called Paul Roux, where well, I think around 450 people who live there in a very small community. And in that area, I would like to have the and it's a road movie, so a lot of it will be placed in the car on the empty roads with the two men in the cabin of the car, and in the whiteness of the surrounding, and that will be the area actually. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Marlene.
Thank you.
Hi, Marilyn. I'm sorry if I couldn't hear properly. I was just wanting to ask for some clarity on Arthur And you said he lost his daughter. If you don't mind, just giving me a little more on that, please.
Yes, okay, yes. Art is based on a documentary portrait I made of Artie Tenda, who's living in Rotterdam. And this Arthur in the movie Halfpad is a Congolese refugee who fled in the late 80s, early 90s to the Netherlands, where he had a daughter, and just after she was born, he was arrested and brought back to Congo. And it took him many years to get back to the Netherlands. And when he finally arrived in the Netherlands, his daughter was adopted by a Dutch family who emigrated to South Africa. And after waiting for 25 years in the Netherlands for his asylum, Arthur decides to go and look for his daughter. He has lost all his family in Congo. He never got asylum in the Netherlands. And both men are 50. Both are in that way like halfway of their life. And he decides to leave everything he never had behind and look for the only thing that is his family, or that is, as he says, his other eye. That's his one DNA that's still there. And there's this also this little opportunistic feeling, because his daughter, she has been raised and went to school and has a passport and has everything he never got. So in a way, he still he thinks also to find something he deserves, and he has to learn that being a father to his daughter and giving her the love is the only thing that counts.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandra. Marlon, I think that's a wrap for you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Enjoy Copenhagen.
Yes, and thank you all very much for listening, and good luck with, I think, 1 or 2 more to go. And I hope to see you all soon and hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlon. Go well. Right, we are right on time, and standing by, I would love to introduce Sylvain Strike and Andrew Buckland from South Africa. Over to you.
Hi.
Are we off?
Yes, we're starting.
Okay, hello, my name is Andrew Buckland. I'm an actor, theatre maker, and a writer. I've been working as a performer in film and television and theatre for up to about 40 years now. I've achieved some level of success with my original plays, which have been awarded about 20 national and international awards, and have traveled fairly extensively. The work is quite specific in that it's really fixed on the notion of physicality as a performance medium, on the ability to tell the story through the body, and principally through gesture and the presence of the body. So that is really where my co-writer and collaborator Sylvain and I have connected very closely.
Hi, I'm Sylvain Strike. I'm a theatre director, theatre maker, writer, and actor, and I work across the mediums of film, television, and theatre. I am the artistic director of the Fortune Cookie Company, which is now 22 years old, and have collaborated with Andrew Buckland over the past 8 years, creating critically acclaimed work that is highly visual, telling stories very often through the lens of the clown, or the one who is forgotten and othered. My work has received over 13 theatre awards, and our most recent accolade being the 2021 Fiesta Award, given to our company for the best production of a play produced on film.
Other Brothers is a film, a story which takes place on a beach, on a wild and remote South African beach. It's completely deserted, except for one person. It's a woman, and she is alone and dressed flamboyantly in a traditional style. She's very large. She is transgender. And the fact is that she has come to this beach because she is dying. Very soon, we meet two people who come to the beach to join her. They are a strange couple. They're pretty old, and they are dressed in a way that resembles vaudeville tramps. They very soon take up their role, which is clearly as guardians for Mama Iparele, the woman's name, and to help her and guide her towards death. And they do this by helping her to relive seminal moments from her past when she had to confront what she did as being who she is.
We're going to share a few moments with you. So the three of them sit across from the beach on the dunes, and a large Nguni cow walks into the shallows across the sand. Mama Iparele watches herself as a young herd boy herding cattle. He looks around and untucks his red shirt from his shorts, and it is in fact a dress. Freedom. The boy dances effeminately and is in his element. Suddenly a group of herd boys descend from the dunes and they assault the boy. But the two guardians appear in time, out of nowhere, in time to protect him and fight off his attackers. We then cut back to Mama Iparele and the guardians who are watching.
The second moment that she recalls and that the guardians help her remember, we see him as a young man in an arranged marriage moving towards his bride. He can't face this prospect. The priest is there, the congregation is watching, and he breaks down and confesses his situation. The priest and congregation respond by dragging him into the water, holding him under the water, and praying feverishly to free him from this terrible sin. But then the two guardians come running out of nowhere. They disperse the crowd, and they help him out of the water and back onto the sand. They clothe him with seaweed and coral shells and help him up onto the beach, back up onto the dunes. And that the film closes as the two guardians then help the now again flamboyantly dressed Mama Iparele into the water. She works further into the water until she disappears. When we look back, the two guardians are gone, and the only person on the beach is the Nguni cow who watches them.
This is a film that highlights gender-based discrimination, often leading to othering, and it's such a global reality. We are both storytellers who are very committed to telling stories from the perspective of those who are othered, and would love to explore this, believing that it makes a difference just to be able to lay a seed of doubt or a question in people's minds to rethink the way they see others and perhaps grow to evolve as a species.
Yeah, if there's a grand ideal, it's that hopefully we can learn how to see each other without distinction, to see each other as human beings, to treat each other with respect and dignity, and ultimately with love. We would need help to develop, to finish developing the text, and then obviously to actually put the film into production.
Thank you, Sylvain. Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to open up immediately for questions. Sakile?
Hi, Sylvain, and hi, Andrew. My question is very short. Just wanted to find out, how long is this short film?
We're looking at a 12 to 15 minute film. It relies on one location, and I suppose the events are quite poetic, but can happen quite swiftly as she remembers these last moments of her life towards the end. So it needs to be a concentrated poetic delivery, and it can't carry on into a very real space.
And if I can just ask a second part to the first, I mean, in terms of like international appeal, what will be the highlight? Like, how do you think this appeals to the global audience? How does the story appeal to the global audience?
I think if I can jump in, Sylvain, I think that the beach itself and the context in which the story happens, and the sense of a rural context, and the difficulty that a person of Mama Iparele's nature, the difficulty that she finds in a very specific rural situation, which is very visually easily defined as South African. I believe would have an appeal for an international audience. That this is not something that is localized to first world countries.
Okay, thank you, guys.
I do also, just in response to that, think that the nature of the story is, however localized it is, such an important and international call to gaze on what we seem to think of as the other, as something beautiful.
Okay. Thank you.
I have two questions. The first one is, why is it called Other Brothers?
We were given the theme, the other, and obviously Mama Iparele is an other, or is othered, and the two guardians, you'll see in the documents that we've submitted, are not necessarily realistic, in the sense that they're probably constructions of her imagination that she has always conjured up in her moments of difficulty. Being two white people with official kinds of suits on, they are images of power, I suppose, that she conjured up in order to help her through her very difficult times. So they are kind of her brothers, and I guess something of the rhyming nature of it hooked them together. Sylvain, any more?
Oh, yeah, thanks. And the other question is it is a practical question, because filming on a beach is a very, very hard thing to do, not only with sound, but also with your crew. And so I was wondering if that, because the whole film is on a beach, if that was a specific choice for this film, and how to overcome this complication, this extra complication which it already brings, because from what I've understand, it's a very sensitive film. And that's always a hard story to tell technically.
Of course. I think, I mean, it's obviously our wish list, the presence of the ocean being a very feminine presence, the presence of the cow, and in the eastern, in Transkei, the Nguni cattle are often seen on the water and in the water. So it is for us an image that conjures the feminine, the highly feminine space. I understand that shooting at the sea is a very temperamental thing. Perhaps we could shift to a lagoon where there aren't as many waves. But I really think that it is evocative of what we're needing to tell. So we'll have to work with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rubil. Sylvain and Andrew, I don't see any other questions from the panel. So thank you so much for your pitch.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Sylvain. And that brings us to the end of the pitching session. It went really fast. We're right on time. So thank you for tuning in. Like I said, this is a market, so there's lots of opportunities here to collaborate possibly between the Netherlands and South Africa. And I'm hoping that we can find the partners to develop some of these short forms. I think the collaboration is really important, and I think stories are important, and these stories are very, very interesting and very, very diverse. And I'm hoping to see some of these stories being told to a larger audience. Thank you for listening. And if you've got any queries or any questions, please contact me on my email, hugo@kunste.org.za. You can also visit our website at kakank.co.za. Thank you to our sponsors. There's one person that I really need to thank, and that is Denis Delvoye from the Nederlandse Filmfonds. Thank you so much for all your assistance on that side of the world. And for me, it's goodbye. Hoping to see some of these films on the big screen.